Hi guys, welcome back to Journey Teachers. So today we have Saharsh with us and please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, first of all, shout out to Kriti for having me here. And I'm Saharsh Chaturvedi. I'm a co founder of a digital agency called Dreaming in Digital. And I'm a videographer, photographer, and I'm trying to get into content creation. So, yeah, that's for me.
So he's a very talented person and his journey and experiences will teach us a lot. So I'm very glad to have you here and
Thank
we are
you.
looking forward to hear from you. Okay, so you want to start by talking about your media venture which is Dreaming in Digital.
Yeah, so basically, Dreaming in Digital was something I started around 4 to 6 months back, where it wasn't really okay. Let me break this down. I was planning on starting a clothing brand because that is something that really fascinated me. So I tried building something over there, and I got one of my crazy talented friends called Ritika on board to sort of help me with the designs, whereas I handled the manufacturing and the production and everything. And people, when they thought that we came together, they sort of expected sort of a digital agency to sort of form. And that's what we did. We ended up forming Dreaming in Digital. We were like, okay, we're getting the clients, why not sort of go ahead with that itself? So Dreaming in Digital started with something, ended up somewhere else. And it's been a crazy experience since. We have a retainership going on with Represent currently, where we work with closely 40 artists, where we handle their social media and their assets and stuff like that. And also other video formats and also freelancing for most of them.
So it's been a really wonderful journey wherein you started from building a clothing brand and it, led it to a different way altogether. So
Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen, and that was one of the best cases I've seen live, where I was trying to build something else and it turned into something completely different, and I'm not complaining.
yeah. So it is very safe to say that you are a celebrity videographer. So would you like to name some, artists whom you have been working with?
I get this question a lot. So I've worked with Arman Malik, Zayden, Law Stories, Bhuvan Baum. Internationally, I've worked with Dua Lipa and Marshmallow. And I've also covered a little more for someone called Rahul Vaidya, MC Stan, who is the current Big Boss winner. Both of them are from Big Boss, by the way. And many more. I'm surprisingly not getting the name in my head, but yeah, other than shooting, I also mainly handle lyric videos for a few of these clients. Those also include Shirley Sethia and much more.
That's been like really huge being a student that was able to work and make out time for so many projects and gigs you have been handling. So how do you actually manage it without graduation?
I don't manage it at all. If I'm being honest right now, I am really bad at managing that, but I sort of have set priorities of what is giving me the push for my future and what is my future, and I'm basically handling it based on that. So work comes first for me, whereas I prioritize everything that happens work-wise. And I've been trying to push my education back to secondary because it wasn't. So yeah, managing that is a complete headache, and I've been facing a lot of issues with it. But yeah, I have gotten better at it, where I've started dividing my day on this is how long I work, this is how long I have fun, this is how I need to sleep. And once I've started dividing it and making sure that I'm checking these boxes on a daily, life has become much simpler since. But not as simple. I am still going through hell.
And that makes sense because we all have a lot to figure it out and eventually we are trying our best each and every day that how we can stick to a particular schedule and all of that. Okay, so I really want to know about how did it all start? How did you approach some well-established name in the industries and all of that?
The story sort of starts off with when I was back in, I think when I was 15, 16, I used to produce music. So I was a music producer, and I wasn't that great at it, to be honest. And but that was some time where I actually figured out how the industry works and who handles who, and sort of a brief about the industry that in the future I was gonna get into. So once I sort of understood that, I really got into creating assets for my song itself, and I used to pay a lot of attention to detail, and I used to really care about the aesthetics that are going out. And slowly people started really picking up on that. And I remember that I had done an internship for around 7 months where I did it based off graphic designing itself, where I wanted to understand the industry that I wanted to get into. And after doing that, I was like, okay, this is certain that I'll do something based off this. With the money that I saved up from the internship, I bought an iPhone, from where I made this really famous video of mine that me and my family had traveled to Rajasthan. So I'd made like a Rajasthan vlog cut sort of a thing, like the famous after movies you see of places. I tried doing something like that. That fascinated me a lot, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So once I started doing that, that got a lot of traction, and that was one of the first videos I'd ever made, and people failed to believe me on that. So I felt like, okay, this is something that I am talented in, I think, and I need to explore this. That is exactly when COVID hit, and once COVID hit, it gave me a lot of time, and it confined me to a space where I wanted to do something because I didn't want to be bored. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to go over my thoughts too much. So I just pushed myself into work, and I sort of experimented with softwares here and there. And I started making fan edits for artists like Lost Stories and other Bangalore-based artists as well. And I used to do it for free. I used to just reach out to them and be like, hey, this is your song. This is the art. This is like the artwork I've made, and this is the video I've made. Let me know if you like it. And they used to end up liking it, and we used to start working forward. And that is one of the best ways on how I've made connections, that I provided them the asset that they didn't even know that they needed. So once I started with that, it was pretty straightforward. I then got in touch with multiple people who were underground or into the scene, and like, you know, so sort of hyped up about to blow up people. And I got an opportunity from Lost Stories itself. I made a fan edit 2 months before that. So I got an opportunity where they asked me to sort of build an artwork and a visualizer for their song called Heer Ranja, that was by Bhuvan Bam. They remixed it alongside a close friend of mine called Sumanshu. So Sumanshu Bhaiya sort of sent that to me, and he was like, see if you can come up with something crazy with this, and I'll pitch it ahead, and we'll see if we can do something with it. So I spent like a day planning on what I would do, and I was really into 8-bit at the moment. So I made a really cool 8-bit version of an artwork and a visualizer, a small demo, and I sent it ahead, and they loved it. And from there, it was quite easy. I think that was the real turning point in my life, where I used to go around just fangirling about Lost Stories all the time to officially working with them. And I felt like, okay, this is something that I want. This is something I really want to experience. And I feel like that was the turning point, because after that, I ended up working with a few of the best musicians in the country, and some of the talented people in the industry as well.
That was really a very wholesome journey. And I could
glad.
see, the the passion you have and the journey that you wanted to go ahead with, and the hard work you actually put in, put in that efforts that actually made you to connect with Lost Stories and actually eventually reach out to much more huge names in the industry. Okay, so how do you actually network and maintain relations with their team? And how much time does one music video actually take to get released, and what's the editing process or like? So if you can give some insights into that.
Okay, so one thing about maintaining relationships, I think that is the most important aspect that people really need to look into. I spend most of my time maintaining relationships itself. Aside from, making the video and being talented in that and providing the artist what they need, but maintaining relationships is what's going to drive the force forward. You need to have a good vibe. You need to sort of always connect with the artist. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but sometimes it always tends to sort of happen as a click. So maintaining relationships is something that is really important, I feel, especially being part of the industry. Music video slash lyric video wise, when I started out, it used to take me, I think it takes like 4 or 5 days to finalize and properly build a lyric video. I'll talk about my most famous one, and I think that was You, the lyric video for You by Arman Malik. So the thing was, I made around 3 to 4 drafts. I have worked with Arman before that as well, so he reached out to me again for it. And I made 3 drafts. They all got rejected. I made another draft that got rejected. I made another one, and by that time, I was like, okay, if this gets rejected, I don't think this is for me. Maybe this song is not for me. So that got rejected as well. And they also were like, okay, I don't think this is working out for this song. We'll reach out for the next one. I mean, obviously, even I tried consoling myself, like, okay, not every song works out, but deep inside, I was feeling the pain. So I went back home and started fresh. I dissociated myself from college, friends, life, and just sat down and conceptualized how I would want the video to look like and not how anyone else would. And as and when I built that, by this time they had already given the contract, I think, to someone else, and someone else had already started making the lyric video, I feel. But I made another draft and I sent it in. So they were like, bro, why are you sending in another draft and all that stuff? But when they watched it and they sent it to Arman, there was an instant connection with the lyric video. And I feel I've always felt like I have been gifted and think I am just a very lucky person that I'm getting to experience all of this. But I think that was the day that I really realized that I did work hard to sort of be where I am, because after being rejected 7-8 times, for me to go back and send in another draft was something that I really feel like helped me overcome the fact that I'm lucky. And once that was sent in, it took me, I think, 3 to 4 days. I think that was the fastest I've ever done it, but like in 3 to 4 days, I was able to come up with the draft and sort of send it in. But yeah, as the question goes, it takes closely 5 to 6 days, depending on changes and what the artist wants and huge parameters associated. But yeah, during that time is what it's done with.
What's the editing process, all of that look like?
The editing process would be hard to explain it like this, but basic step is I draw. So I really suck at drawing. No one really understands what I've drawn, but I myself know what I'm trying to do. So I sort of draw and conceptualize the entire thing. I listen to the song closely 20-30 times before I actually do it, because I just close my eyes and try to imagine a movie, imagine a flow, imagine something unique that I can add that people come back to it. That is something that I feel every artist tries to do, because if there's no uniqueness in that, it doesn't really catch the eye. So I spend my time sort of conceptualizing that, my unique aspect that I'm going to keep, my textures and how I'm going to sort of present it, and what my storyline sort of will be. And once I build that, I sort of jump back into the editing process and I make drafts. Then if the artist likes it, we go ahead with it, or else we can the entire time. So that is like a basic editing process, like a stepwise on how the lyric video is exactly built. But yeah, that.
I can really feel like that, you put your entire energy, your entire time into what you do. And, you have that kind of passion to actually move ahead. And it's not just your luck, but your hard work and your efforts also. And when you, dedicate your time and, to that, it really gives out the best results. And after the rejections also, you have been able to, keep on that path, and you have been, you didn't leave that well to, just not get selected, all of that. So it actually makes sense, and it's been really inspiring.
Thank you.
Okay. So, how do the existing, connections help you to reach out to others in the same industry as well?
I think the industry really works on word of mouth. Excuse me. Yeah, the industry works on word of mouth. So one person sort of, if I've had a great experience and if I've made the video, let me start that away. Yeah. So the industry basically I feel works based on mouth. Word of mouth is what usually works here. So if like an artist really connects and knows that you're capable of doing this, they usually just talk. And I feel that's how it usually works. People reach out to you after you've started making these videos for certain people. But if it's in the bigger industry, I feel people just talk there. And they sort of try it out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think that's how the ladder goes there.
Yeah. If you got connected with one person, it actually leads to, others getting connected all the way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Okay, so tell us about your best experience of working with any one of the, celebrities like that. And what role did you exactly have there? How was the shooting process?
I think more than shooting process, I think someone who I really enjoy working with is Arman Malik. I have a very different connection with him. He seems like a big brother to me at this point. And there have been multiple times where we've had crazy deadlines associating projects, and Arman knows that, okay, he might be, a little panicked or stuff like that. And he would text me saying that, yo, dude, it's fine. You got this under control. It's very easy. Just close your eyes. You got this and stuff like that. And that coming from an artist really means a lot, because he really cares about his art and the people he surrounds himself with and the people he works with. So overall, working with Arman is always a top-notch experience for me. And every time I meet him, it's always a blast. It's like I'm actually meeting a very long-lost friend sort of a person. It never feels like it's a client and this relation. And especially that I'm 20 and I think he's 27, 26. Sorry if I got your age wrong, Arman. But yeah, for him to connect with me and have conversations for so long always surprises me. And I really respect his energy and the aura he sort of goes around with. So yeah, Arman Malik is definitely one of the guys who I love working with. Another person I really enjoy working was with Zayden. Sahil is also a really fun person to hang around with, and he's really energetic and he has a very nice vibe to himself. And he was another person who I really enjoyed working with. And there have been so many other people like Lost Stories and all these people who I have always felt unreal about, that even meeting them or talking to them is more than enough to me. But like to actually work with them and associate my conversations and my life with them, and I think it's a crazy experience. But yeah, Arman, Zayden, Lost, all of these people, absolute favorites.
And I believe a lot of people watching us are really the fans of these artists, not just me. So it's been, wonderful. So how did you actually overcome the insight or the fan moments working with all of them?
With LS, I think with Lost Stories, that was the biggest thing, because I don't think I've ever overcome it. I think I was talking to Kriti earlier as well, and I was telling her how I don't think I've processed it well enough yet. Like everything still seems so new to me, still seems unreal to me. It still takes me a lot of time to be like, oh wow, okay, I'm sure I'm doing this sort of work that I've always dreamt of. I'm sitting in an interview right now. All seems pretty unreal to me. But yeah, with LS, that was the thing, because I was really fangirling, and it always gave me a lot of anxiety before I sent something in, because I'm like, is it up to the mark? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? That also happened with Arman when I met him for the first time. So I remember he had called me inside his booth when he was performing, and like there was like backstage, and I remember I was standing outside. I'm like making sure, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm finally gonna meet him. I'm gonna meet Arman. I don't know how he looks like. He doesn't know how I look like, and I don't know if he'll recognize me. I don't know how it's gonna go. And there were multiple thoughts coming in my head, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's have a fun time. Yeah. So I don't think I'll ever overcome that. But yeah, it's very different that way. Yeah.
And you kind of, establish that relation with them where you're working with them constantly. And professional socialism is there for you to get maintained. But a lot of other, related things also happen. Okay, so how are the concert shooting experiences and exposure you get to travel to other cities? How is that?
I think that's the favorite part of the job. Hands down, that is my absolute favorite, traveling around. Before COVID, one of the main things that I wanted to do was shoot for artists and travel with them. So going on tour with LS and all that stuff was something that I started off my career for. I'm like, I want to travel, I want to see the world with these guys, I want to be there with them and experience some great music. And COVID hit, but I then basically changed my entire genre. So when the lockdowns were uplifted and things were starting to get back to normal and artists started touring, I started hitting all of them up that, hey dude, this is what I originally wanted to do. But thanks to COVID, I was doing something completely different and I was doing all digital work. And I asked them if I can, and they kept that in mind. And I think I went to Mysore with them for the first time, and I think it was a completely different experience where I went on the first flight alone and I went to a hotel where I was able to order a lot of food for myself, and that is very different. And the shooting aspect is also really different because I was able to see the artist perspective. Like, I've always imagined how it would be looking into the crowd and into seeing that crowd of people and stuff like that. And when I was able to stand back and actually experience that, it was way too different for me. But yeah, that I feel is the best part of the job. Shooting around and traveling is hands down the best.
Right, and you get to learn a lot along with it, every day, and with each and every evolving artist, you get to learn so much and experience their types. How are they, when
Very
they
much
are
so.
being successful, what is that kind of feeling and experience that they go to. Okay, so if you have to decode the entire job system, connecting to actually delivering, so what does it actually look like?
One thing that we always do is we take our time, or I take my time to make sure I sit with the artist and understand, because when they make the song, I feel like every time I made a song or something like that, I always had the visuals in my head on how something needs to look. Similar to how Kriti, when she wrote something, she had the visuals in her head on, okay, this is how it's supposed to look, this is how it's supposed to be. So I take my time to actually understand what the artist really wants, and while making the song, what were they decoding in their head. So maybe if it was colors or patterns or objects and stuff like that. And once I've taken those, I sort of draw and I sort of structuralize how my entire song as a draft needs to look like. And once I sort of do that, and once I have it in my head, okay, this is what I need to do, then I get on the editing process and I start sending in drafts. So we start with 30-second drafts, and from there, if the artist tends to connect with it, we push on that, or else we just keep revisiting the 30-second draft, maybe trying an entire new concept or making alterations in the changes of frames in that itself.
So where do you exactly want to take it away? Where do you see yourself in it, taking it further?
Personally, I really want to make sure dreaming in digital is something that I really want to take ahead. I want to make sure I own my own media agency and build that. I feel like my time behind the camera is over and it's time for me to come in front of the camera. So I want to start off with new things like vlogging or like content creation, stuff like that. While Dreaming in Digital handles all the media and like all the artist related work. So that is where I feel like my life is currently heading to. But my entire life, I had absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen today. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's one of the best mysteries, and I feel one of the best parts of being in the music industry, because I get to experience something very different every single day in my life. And I don't know what I'm going to wake up to, or what video I'm going to make, or what I'm going to do, or which client is going to come to me. And I love that suspense. I love that mystery in my life. And yeah, I think I'm for sure. One thing I know is I'm going to continue here, and I feel like I'm here.
And it looks like a complete adventure, when you explain to me how you feel like and what kind of, experiences you have, and how does it feel like to be in this industry, put your heart and soul into it. So it really, leaves like it's so very, very adventurous, and, everything, something new is happening. Okay, so what would be the overall advice that you would like to give to the people watching, for them to just start it out?
Start it out. I think that would be the best advice I could give you. As she said, start it out, because I know for a fact that if I didn't push myself to start it out and actually put things out there, I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am today. So if you have an idea, if you want to write a song, if you want to write a book, if you want to make a video, actually do it. You will get good over time. I think everyone needs to start off somewhere. So one thing I would say is start off. And another thing would be work smart, not hard. I feel like the whole you need to work this much is a little too much and overrated, I feel. Once I think you understand the process and you're able to work smart towards it, things happen like that. And that is something I learned through Dreaming in Digital, where I was like, okay, the whole work hard situation rocks, yeah, but working smart makes my life so much easier, and I have the energy to really put it out in so many other things that I want to do. So yeah, work smart, not hard, and just do it.
Just start it out.
Just start it out. That's it. We'll see what happens after that. जो होगा देखा जाएगा, but just start it out.
Right, definitely. So don't wait for the right moment to come. This is the right time. Start now.
This is the right time. Yes, ma'am.
You got this. Okay. So thank you so much, Saharsh, for
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have a conversation with you. And there's so much to learn from your journey. And I'm really sure that the people who have watched the entire interview till here, they must have got a lot of motivation from your journey. And, you know,
I hope.
it was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and lots of love.
Thank you.